Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is a vlog of my late autism and ADHD diagnosis experience. Today I wanted to talk about a question that someone asked me recently, and that is, what is something that you want people to understand about autism? And it's not like a super easy question to answer because autistic people really like a lot of context around things. So like if you were to ask me what my favorite book is, I might want to know, well, is it nonfiction or fiction? What genre? What audience level? Like I have a lot of different favorite books and it depends on all those things, right? And if I had to pick a particular one favorite, I don't know if I actually could. And same thing with movies. But apparently neurotypical people don't really think about it that hard. They either have one that is just like their go-to answer, or they just like, oh, this is my favorite right now. And it's not like an actual like favorite. Anyway, I digress. But so like the one thing I want everybody to know about autism, oh my gosh, there's no way I could narrow it down. But in this moment, for right now, one thing that I really want people to know about autism is understanding the autistic mask. And this is specifically for like other late diagnosed autistic people who are very high masking. Maybe they just got diagnosed and they're still trying to understand how they were masked for so long. Or it might be for people who are not autistic at all and they've heard about masking, but they just can't quite grasp like the extent or what the mask, like how it actually works. So I got diagnosed a little under 2 years ago. I think like a year and 9 months, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, and it's taking me that long to get to where I am. And I know, as time goes on, I'll probably learn more and more about myself even. But I've had some pretty big aha moments recently. And I've touched on some of this in previous videos too, but like, not to this level. And I wanted this to be like its own video. So there are some autistic people who do have an awareness of the fact that they're masking. They don't maybe have that vocabulary word. So they may have an understanding that like maybe when they're home, they can like relax and be themselves. But every time they're out in public, they are on. And they can tell that there's like a drastic difference of how they are in their own house versus even around close friends. Like they're always on. And be clear when I say, yes, allistic, non-autistic people can act differently in front of different people. Like everyone's going to act different from their boss potentially than their best friend. Like I'm not arguing that. That's not what the mask is. And the mask goes so much deeper than that. Then there's some autistic people, such as myself, who I was so highly masked, I had no idea I was masking. I always thought I was the same all the time. Even when I was at home, like I don't feel like I changed who I was at home because I was masking even from myself. And there's a reason for this. The mask is a mechanism that your brain uses to protect yourself from society in a way, because society does not really welcome autistic people. It's getting better, but we have like a very long way to go. So in our current society, being different is bad. And some of this, because it's not all just, there's something called the social model of disability. And I am talking about that a little bit, but this does go, the masking goes beyond the social model of disability. It goes even deeper than that. So, oh my gosh, I'm trying to keep this short video today, but there's so much I want to say. Okay, so my brain is just like, so many thoughts. Okay. Being different is dangerous because as a little kid, if you're different, you're going to be left out. You're going to be made fun of. Humans want to be part of the pack. We do not want to be separate from the pack. So, little Amanda going to school, all of a sudden, is doing something that is like stimming, an autistic trait. Maybe I'm rocking back and forth in class because like it's really overwhelming. The class is loud, everyone's talking, and I just need to regulate myself. So maybe I'm going to sit here and rock. And the teacher would be like, hey, Amanda, you need to sit still. You little girls, especially, need to sit still. You just got to sit still. And so the next time I needed to rock, my brain wants to be a people pleaser, and I don't want to be in trouble with the teacher. So I'm going to hold myself really still. That takes masking power. That takes a lot of brain power because my body is wanting to do one thing, but my brain is now telling me that's dangerous because you want the teacher to like you, so you need to stop. And this all happens very unconsciously. You don't realize it's going on. And it encompasses every single aspect of your entire personality. Everything. For me, my mask created what I like to call neurotypical.exe. It was a code that ran through my brain. And again, I did not know any of this. This is me going through therapy after my diagnosis and looking back. You can watch the videos on my memory to understand how my memory works. I do have semantic memory. I just don't have autobiographical memory. And again, way more detail in other videos. But could look back. Okay, I had to pause because I had one of those tangents and I could not remember where I was. So hold on, the camera is not now where, I don't know. Anyway, so my brain had what I like to call neurotypical.exe, and it meant that I had to be perfect. I had to be perfect. I had to be a good little girl at all times. And what was the other one? Gosh, I haven't actually talked about this in a while, so I forgot now the things that I've already figured out about my brain. Oh my gosh, that sucks. But anyway, the biggest ones were being perfect and being a good little girl. Maybe the third one that I've figured out will come back to me. Those were the things that really created my masks. Basically, anytime some kind of external stimulus would come at me, I would have to fit it through those filters to put out a result of like who Amanda or how Amanda's going to respond. So if I thought I was going to get in trouble with a teacher, that would not be being a good little girl. So I would do the thing that made me be a little girl, good little girl. And coming back to the perfectionism one, that ran so deep because my brain thought that if I was perfect, then I wouldn't stand out, and then I'd fly under the radar and I'd be able to survive. Oh my gosh, that one took such a toll on me in retrospect. And I would also get really frustrated because, again, I didn't know I was masking. I never thought I was perfect. Other people would tell me, Amanda, why are you being so perfect? And I'm like, I'm not, I'm just being me. I don't understand why everyone thought I was being perfect, but my mask only let me put out things that looked perfect to other people. If I have a friend come over to my house, I would spend hours deep cleaning it before they were allowed to come over because they could only see my house in a perfect state. The amount of time and energy that I used burning myself out. And while I was doing this, it didn't seem like, oh my gosh, I got to put on this front for my friend. In my mind, that's just what you did before a friend came over. It wasn't like I was trying to, again, be perfect. My brain justified it with like, oh, well, when someone comes over, your house needs to look good. Like, that's just what needs to happen. It wasn't me, again, trying to act or anything. It was literally my mask making me perform and do things in a way to fit that neurotypical.exe because I thought that's just what you were supposed to do. So one thing that, like I said at the beginning of the video, I was talking to my therapist, and one of the things that I uncovered is that, so your brain is here masking, and then there's another layer outside of that says, don't let the human know that we are masking. That's how I never saw my own mask. Anytime I'd get close, bump up to the fact, where people would tell me, Amanda, why are you being so perfect? I couldn't see it. I could not see it. I could not see that I was doing things like cleaning my entire house to appear perfect to them. While in the background, all I could be like, why can't they see that I'm a messy human? Like, I make mistakes. Why can't, because I hid my mistakes. I did not let other people see when I would mess up because my mask wouldn't allow it. Oh my gosh. And so another good example for this is I really believe in therapy. I think therapy, it should be more accessible for more people, and that more people should have, I just said that, accessible, have access to go to therapy. Well, I couldn't go to therapy because this is so wrong. Okay, believe me, I don't believe this now, and I didn't believe it then, but my mask kind of made me. And I'm not blaming my mask. I'm not going to go on that tangent, but so I was very supportive of therapy. If a friend wanted to go to therapy, like awesome. I support them. I'll help them find a therapist. I had my kids going to therapy at the age of 7. That's a whole nother long story, which leads to autism. But for me, whenever I kind of sometimes secretly, again, there was these things, there was like little murmurs of the person under the mask. It was like, oh man, I wonder if I could use therapy. Boom, brain saying, no, you don't need therapy. There's nothing for you to talk about in therapy. Like, I wouldn't, as soon as I started to almost explore that as an idea, part of my brain would shut it down. You don't need therapy. You're fine. There's nothing for you to talk about. Or like, oh, it's too expensive, or like other justifications. Any time in my past where I would bump up against it because the mask needed to protect itself. Because if the human could find out that it was masking, then that would break open the mask. And the survival mechanism is the mask has to stay in place at all costs, because the brain was thinking that is what's keeping this human safe. Now, it's like your little amygdala. I'm not a scientist. This is my lived experience and my limited understanding of the brain. But your amygdala is the one that's like your little animal brain, right? It's doing what it can to keep you safe now. Now is what is important. It doesn't really care that much about the future. It's like, immediately, let's keep you safe. It does not understand that by masking for 40 years, that's using brain power at a rate that is too fast, too hard, and it's going to burn out. I've got videos on adult autism regression, because that's what happened to me. At around age 40, my mask could no longer keep up, and I basically was headed towards a mental health crisis. All of a sudden, I could not do the things that I used to be able to do at the pace that I could do them, because my brain literally was burning out. And it took another 2 years after that. That was kind of like 40 it started, and I got diagnosed incorrectly with depression, which is very common for a lot of autistic women. We get diagnosed with depression or BPD, borderline personality disorder, which I didn't, but a lot of other people will, before we'll get an autism diagnosis. And it looks like depression because all of a sudden I couldn't function the way that I used to function, and I was exhausted all the time, and my body and brain just couldn't keep up with what my mask was wanting it to do. And a couple years later, my kids and I all got diagnosed within a month of each other. And I've been unmasking ever since then. But so, like, if there was one thing that I would want other autistic people to understand about autism, is how high masking autism works, and how complete it took over my entire life. I was a complete shell of a person because everything had to run through my neurotypical.exe. To the point where I could never curse, because again, society says good little girls don't curse. So whenever I would try to curse, like the me underneath the mask was like, I want to curse. I'm an adult. I should be able to curse. I would almost get like select mutism, like my throat would close up. Curse words would not come out of my throat very easily, because that was the brain shutting that down. No, you can't do that. That's how deep the mask would run. It's how I had no idea I was bisexual, because every time I started to kind of even think about or question sexuality, which again, being bisexual is outside of the autistic norm. I mean, not autistic, societal norm right now. So my brain would shut it down. We're not allowed to think about that line of questioning, redirect to, oh, we'll let you be an ally. That's good enough. That was like as much as my brain would let me even consider, until I started unmasking. What are some other things? Like the fact that I love fun colors and makeup? No, because that again makes you stand out. You need to wear gray clothes. You need to wear, very demure, mindful makeup. But now it's like, no, I love color. I love, So it took every single aspect of who I was and made it what society would want, the most perfect female in America. Like context matters, like where I grew up matters. The fact that I grew up in very conservative Texas, that's where a lot of the good girl stuff wasn't. My mom, it was society. It was teachers and Girl Scout leaders and the cashier at the grocery store, like complimenting, oh, she's so quiet and demure, which is the vocabulary word of the week, right? Also, what I was going to point before, I was really going to keep this a short video, but it is what it is. The other thing I was going to point out is the fact that, yes, social model of disability doesn't account for everything, because it's not all society. Like autism, still a disability. If I'm in a very, very loud place, which, yes, society is loud, but okay, that may not be the right example, but I'm going to just keep going. Okay, so, sometimes the way that the mask also worked would be making my brain dissociate. So when I was in a very loud restaurant, it would be so completely overwhelming. My brain would kind of dissociate, and I would actually have kind of ability to sort of tunnel vision and tune everything out around me. And I would only focus on like the person I was with at the restaurant. And I still do this. I would tune everything out, which is good for my senses, but bad for my situational awareness. Like if there was somebody dangerous going on, I would tunnel vision out, because it was like, that's too much information for me to handle. And so I would block it out. Then after I got diagnosed, when I was unmasking, all of a sudden these things, again, because of regression and like my ability to not be able to mask as much anymore, like because once I became aware of the mask, all of a sudden I could see where I'm masking, and and sometimes I can't mask anymore. So all of a sudden I was going to restaurants, and all of a sudden I'm aware of all the loudness. All of a sudden I wasn't dissociating in the restaurant. Good for your brain, bad for the autism, because I was like, wow, that's so overwhelming. So I started wearing earplugs to restaurants. And again, sometimes now, because I've kind of recovered a little bit from the burnout, sometimes now I will slip back into those old habits of masking. So like the other day, we were at a very crowded place, and now I'm aware of the mask. I noticed it. I noticed I was starting to like withdraw within myself, tune everything out, and just focus on what was right in front of me. And I realized I wasn't paying attention to my environment at all. So I was like, okay, let's, deep breath, like ground myself, look around, scan the room, make sure, I need a little bit more awareness. That's just being safe in our society. So that is where I am in this unmasking journey. And I do think it's really important for people, like I said, whether you're new to an autism diagnosis and you're like, what is masking? I've heard this word. I don't quite understand it. And the autistic mask can be very different for every single person. Or if you're an allistic person and you're like, I've heard of this, but I don't understand what it is. Hopefully this video helps answer that. Last thing before I go, I wanted to show you my Jellycat, because I know some people might have seen me playing with it through the video and be curious. This one, for my blind viewers, is a black dragon that I think from tip to tail is like 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet. I'm not very good at estimating sometimes. And it's got shimmery wings and some spikes down its back. And it's the Jellycat brand. And I do have this in my Amazon storefront because it's one of my favorite stuffed animals. And this Jellycat back here is an octopus. So one of the things that I started doing after unmasking was buying things that bring me joy. And so I love like some stuffed animals. And so I really love the Jellycat brand. So I've been starting to collect some of my favorite ones. So, and then I also have Squishmallows too, because they are awesome. All right, until the next video, I will see y'all next time. Bye guys.